While waiting for my appointment, I started to develop more symptoms. Not only do I still have that pain, but I'm starting to be very fatigued. I can't sleep at night. I'm having issues with moving my bowels. I'm having bladder issues. I've even wet myself a couple of times. When I look at things, they start to look blurry or I see double. I was walking down the stairs one day at work, and luckily my attendant was with me, and I fell down the stairs, and it devastated her. I just sat on the floor for a minute and laughed out loud. She became extremely worried. I just told her to stay with me, and I got up. We had a event at work where I had to go and assist setting up, and I just was so tired that I had to bring along someone so that they can assist me. So I did just that. The following day we had the event, and I was so fatigued. Bear in mind, I was only receiving like 4 hours of sleep a day because I just couldn't sleep. My brain became very foggy, where I was having cognitive issues where I can see numbers, but I recognize the number, but I couldn't tell you what that amount was. So for instance, if I saw a number 5, sometimes I could say it's a 5, but I didn't know what a 5 meant. Like, I didn't know it adds up to 5 and it represents 5. I eventually became so tired because one day I was at work and I could feel something in my brain pull. It felt like my brain was like stretching out and it was pulling, and it frightened me. A tear ran down my eye, and one of my colleagues, she saw that something looked off about me, and she said, "Dee Dee, are you okay?" I said, "No, I'm not, but give me a few minutes. I'm going to pull it together." So I sat there waiting, and then I got up and I left and went back to my office. I went to an appointment with my therapist that night, and I was just so fatigued. I don't even know what we were talking about, but I know I mentioned to her that I was just tired and I was just so fatigued, and I just didn't know what to do at this point. And I told her that I was waiting on a appointment with the neurologist, and the appointment was going to be some time from now. I told her that I had the notes and the scans because I did go and retrieve those from the hospital. And she mentioned that maybe I should just, take off a few days and rest. So I promised her that I would take off the following day and rest. And I explained to her all of my issues that were going on. I told her how off balance I felt, and how I just couldn't think, like I wasn't sharp anymore, and things I would like to say, I couldn't get the words out. And she asked me would it be okay if she advocate for me? And I said, sure, please do. Do I have to, what do I have to do to make this happen? And I signed a release form so that she can reach out to my other doctors regarding me, so we can figure out what's going on. I signed that release form. I left the office and I went home and I just laid in bed, but I still couldn't get sleep. I got my kids ready for school and daycare. I took them to daycare. I came home and I laid down, and she called. And she said, she checked with me and asked me how I was doing. I said about the same. She reached out to my doctor, and my doctor called and said, Miss Seaton, I think you probably want to go to the emergency room. And I did. But before I can do that, I had to get my kids from daycare and make sure that they were safe with a family member, because I knew if you go to the emergency room, it's a long wait. So I actually, before I went to pick them up, I prepped some food for them, packed their overnight bag and everything just in case. So they came home. We came home. Actually, we went to my mother-in-law's house, and I explained to my sister-in-law that I needed her to assist her and my mother-in-law to assist with the children. And I called my husband and told him that I was going to go to the emergency room. And I did just that. I got to the emergency room, and it was like a scene off of Good Times. Like, it was just so busy in there. Like, you could see Lenny, they got plenty selling socks and everything, phone cords. Don't know why he had phone cords, because a lot of people don't have house phones anymore, but that's another story. The security guard asked me, was I here to see a doctor? And I said, yes. He told me to sign in and to have a seat in one of those 3 chairs. I sat in the chairs up front as directed. There was only one person in front of me. It was 2 triage nurses there. So I finally got over to talk to the nurse, and it was all about 10 minutes, so that wasn't bad. I talked to the nurse. He asked me my symptoms. I told him what was going on. He took my temperature. He asked me, was there anything else I would like to share with him? And I said, yeah. I have scans of my body, like the MRI that I had. I actually brought it with me. And he said, okay. Then I gave him the CD, because he said, let me see it. He said, no, not the CD. I want to see the lab notes. I said, oh, okay. I passed it to him. He read them. He told me, wait right there. I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the back. He went to the back. He came right back out and said, Miss Seaton, follow me. And I could hear the ruckus of all of the other people that were sitting in the waiting room. It had to be about 50 people or more. They were sitting in the waiting room, and they were waiting. They was like, oh, hell no. How did she go back there and all that stuff? And so when I went back there, I saw the doctor. He came in and he asked me how I was doing. He mentioned to me that he read the notes. And from the notes that he has read, it looks as though I have multiple sclerosis. I didn't know what it was. I only knew that one of my former colleagues, she had the disease, but I really didn't know what it was because I never asked her like what it was. I sat there dumbfounded because I didn't know what it was. And then the nurse came in, she wanted to draw blood. He mentioned that he was going to order a series of tests to see if that's it or if they can rule it out. And she took the blood, and I asked her, I was like, I really don't know what it is. And she's like, well, multiple sclerosis comes in many faucets. Like, it's a lot that goes with that. She said, you have to do your research and figure out what's going on. So after she drew my blood, I walked back through the lobby. I had tears in my eyes. And the young lady that was standing at the counter when I walked out, she looked at me and said, you look so sad. You want a hug? And you know me, I don't like hugs, but I hugged her. And I was just crying. I had a breakdown at that moment. And she said to me, you look familiar. And I said, oh, you probably saw me at a park program at church or something like that. But then I asked her name. She told me her name, and it was one of my peers from college.